Welcome back, everyone. I am Rivington Business III, and casting alongside me is part-time color caster and freelance crime fighter Joshua Jat Leesman.
I love fighting crime, apparently.
There you go. Canada's first son right here. We're sweeping the rubble off Summoner's Rift for our next series of the day as Team Liquid takes on Team Envy. And last week, Team Envy made an impressive push forward in moving up to 4th place.
Yeah, Envy surprised a lot of people with that 2-0 last week, but it was super key as they're now 3 wins ahead of 7th place with only 6 matches left, and Phoenix 1 also dropped a game today. So a win here, while it won't technically clinch playoffs for them, puts them in an extremely strong position to make playoffs. And while the test versus top teams is kind of yet to come for Envy, a lot of their wins have come against the bottom of the table. Taking care of business today even more solidifies their spot in the standings.
We'll have to see how they do. If you are Team Liquid in this situation, however, you just want to end the split better than you did in the spring at this point. Get some wins under your belt. You don't have much time here.
Yeah, it's been a pretty sad story for Team Liquid. Last split, they went into the promotion tournament after a 5-13 9th place finish. And they've made a lot of roster changes. So far, the changes haven't looked that convincing, and time is running out to kind of find what has worked. Their starters today is the same as what they started at the start of the split, so that's Reignover in the jungle, Goldenglue mid with Piglet and Matt in the bot lane.
And let's see what the starting lineups are around the board. On the blue side, it will be Team Liquid. That means it is Lourlo coming out of the top lane, Reignover back in the jungle, Goldenglue flexing in mid, Piglet at bot lane with support Matt, and Coach Kane for picks and bans.
Hoping to find some synergy with that lineup, but on the red side, it is Team Envy who found it. Recently, we got Seraph in the top lane, LirA in the jungle, Nisqy, now their sole starting mid laner, Apollo in the bot lane with Hakuho, and their coach Violet.
And Nisqy himself, great CS per minute, damage per minute. This guy is really kind of just fitting into his own spot. He had no real hindrance in the beginning. We weren't like, oh, this guy kind of needs to find it. He's always been increasing.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that Nisqy did come in when Pyrion was having a good start to the split, so it was kind of hard to find time. But every time he's been in there, he's performed pretty well. And now with Pyrion being traded to Phoenix 1, there's no longer that guy looking over your shoulder, so to speak, and he can hopefully allow that to let him play better.
Right, we talk about the teams that they have to face. They still have CLG, TSM, Immortals, C9 to end this split out, so they are gunning for a win. That's going to be tough for Liquid because they need it even more.
Yeah, and even though they haven't found much success, Team Liquid is, as far as a game score perspective this split, 4-13 with this roster, which is better than with all their other iterations. If you combine the other rosters they've played, it's 2-11, and they've played 5 different combinations of players overall because they have 3 positions which they've actively subbed out. Reignover for Inori, Goldenglue for Slushy, and also their support position.
And the idea is now that they have found it, now they can build on these strengths. And hopefully this is that roster. You see the bans, Zach to Caitlyn, most of the usual, possibly that Olaf as well towards Reignover now that he's back in. We'll have to see if he doesn't get it in this first round. The Thresh for Hakuho, and 1 final ban for Envy on the red side.
Yeah, and even though Caitlyn did receive some nerfs on patch 7.14, the laning strength early on is still mostly the same, and that seems to be the thing that most of these guys are guarding against. If we are to take last series as any indication, there are still a bunch of power picks that are left on the board in patch 7.14. Maokai is something that was willing to be first picked. Team Liquid hovers over it. We'll see what they go for.
Get the Cho'Gath, the Maokai, quite a bit. Maybe a little bit of Kane. Gragas picked up, as that could go either or to start things off. We'll see how Envy answers without much information.
Yeah, would you like some tankiness to go with your tanks? Is a question in some of this. Gragas. I'm surprised, actually, that they didn't lock in Maokai. Last week when Team Liquid played with Inori, Inori pretty much exclusively played the Maokai and the Sejuani, so I thought that may have been a Reignover champion pool thing, and they were giving him some time to roll up for those picks. And with Reignover in there and then not early picking the Cho'Gath or the Maokai, who I think are probably the 2 strongest flexible tanks on this patch, probably even above Gragas, maybe shows Reignover doesn't have the level of comfort on those picks as Envy immediately locked in the Cho'Gath and Kalista.
You also see teams kind of trending towards a bit more scaling because if you don't get that early game lead, the tanks that are now in the game are kind of going to walk all over you. Liquid now 14 seconds left. The Kalista picked up there to end things out with the Cho'Gath for Team Envy. And what will Reignover start things here with their 2nd and a 3rd pick? Looks like they get Tristana, so a little scaling on the side of Team Liquid now as well.
Pretty safe here. Tristana is a good pick into Kalista. even if Kalista has been the second highest priority AD carry on this patch to Caitlyn. Trist will be good in lane against it, and it's something Piglet has been very good on in the past. This is where Team Liquid will have to start showing their hand a little bit. Meaning Gragas jungle,
Yep.
and also meaning no Maokai unless they throw him down to support in some way.
Lourlo trending back towards that Gnar quite a few times. This will be pick number 5 for him.
Yeah, and the immediate lock-in of Jayce as well for Envy has been a Seraph special in the past, even though it is a pick this team seems to like more than most other teams in the LCS. They play it mid or top lane. That was more back in the Ninja days.
Yeah.
And this could tell us that LirA has been prepping the Cho'Gath. That is where Cho'Gath's, at least solo queue win rate is highest, is in the jungle, and it's actually where I think he is best, even if we've been seeing a lot more of him top lane.
It's a nice comfort pick for them as well. Jayce is one of the most banned against Envy due to Seraph's kind of prowess on that. Rakan Cassidy down there. Almost couldn't tell who he was jumping out of the screen, phase 2 ban. So support and a mid taken away from Goldenglue. Also his Galio instantly taken away that he's been doing quite well on.
Yeah, so making sure the Team Liquid doesn't get Galio in the mid lane for Goldenglue, as that has been one of his most successful champions. A little surprised that Team Liquid wouldn't have picked that earlier, but Gnar as well is a power pick, was a power pick on patch 7.13. So you can see why they'd want to lock that in early. Mismatched roles, maybe, depending if they want to flex that Jayce, so it makes bans a little trickier.
No blitz plays. No, he knows he plays it. Obviously, we've seen Hakuho play that blitz, but no plays this season. Still gets the ban out. Taliyah is the pick here for Nisqy. Pretty formidable pickup for that mid lane.
Yeah. Locking in the fact that Jayce is top lane.
Yeah.
Leaving the support pick to last. I think the Blitzcrank ban would have just been because of the inherent synergy it has with Kalista. Kalista Thresh, Kalista Blitz, both very good combos.
Very true.
Still got plenty of stuff you can go, though. Braum jumps to mind as a good synergy with Kalista. Alistar as well.
Goldenglue gets the Orianna. Plays to be made here with a few ball delivery aspects. You have Gragas, you have Gnar. What do they finalize with? What does Reignover get once he's back? Or actually, he has the Gragas. So we're looking for that support.
Yeah, he could go Bard if he wanted to throw back and play make, but
Ooh.
this is a pick specifically dedicated around wanting Piglet to carry. They technically get a counter pick onto Kalista. They have double shielding now from the Orianna and the Lulu. And they're hoping Piglet can carry with this. It's not something that he's necessarily done that much of this split. And I don't even think the Lulu's a big support, but this one is what I'd be excited to see.
That is going to be a Kennen.
That's going to be a Kennen support. We've seen a little bit of Kennen
I was like,
support.
wait, there is a top, there is a mid.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of Kennen support over in the LCK. It's starting to get some steam, and it's very good with Kalista, because you can either throw the Kennen in to get the stun, or the Kennen can proc the stun, and then instead of dying as a normal support Kennen would, pull him right back, you Fate's Call out of it. So, actually really like this draft from Envy, throwing a few curveballs there, really early Jayce lock-in, getting the Cho, as it's been recently buffed on this patch, throwing it into what I think is his best role, and then also pulling out that surprise Kennen pick after a bunch of supports have been banned out.
There's so many things that creates chaos in this team fight as well. You have Taliyah, the Unraveled Earth, Kennen with that slicing Maelstrom, Cho'Gath silencing. Silence becomes a really big thing when you don't play against it very often. Yeah, it's been in the scrims, but it can throw off so much in a fight. Liquid has their work cut out for them, but they are also fielding a great composition coming into this matchup. We'll have to see if they can protect Piglet. We've heard how vocal he is about when the Ashe was just about the only thing he was picking. This is what he wanted back. This is what Piglet wanted. And now he's back on the Tristana. He gets the help from his teams. Hashtag TL win, hashtag Envy win. Can TL start putting those wins under their belt here towards the end of the split?
Yeah, and not only do we have the Cho'Gath coming out on this patch, but also the random variance of the Kennen making his support Kennen NALCS debut this split, when we have seen it over in the LCK. Gorilla has played it for Longzhu, and then Snowflower also played it against SKT in a victory for Gnar.
Well, definitely
Fairly aggressive lane.
Put it past Hakuho bringing it out here. Remember this guy used to play a lot of Trundle when it was kind of in and out of the meta, always flexing a bit to his champion pool's delight for whatever helped the team when they needed it. He plays Ignite as well as Matt, so there is going to be kill pressure quite a bit in those bot lanes.
Yeah, Matt going Thunderlords on the Lulu instead of Wind Speakers,
Yeah,
so that's
that
going
too.
for more lane aggression.
It feels really nice because you can apply it with the passive real quick.
You proc the Thunderlords very well, and it is good for the lane, but Wind Speaker's much better for the late game if they are trying to do a scaling strategy with Piglet.
Win lane, win game, Jet. Isn't that the way it is?
That is how some people think it goes.
Should be a pretty good matchup. Orianna versus Taliyah mid. Goldenglue on the Ori. Got pushed off Kassadin, pushed off his Galio. He still knows he has quite good ball placement here as LirA jams out before we get the game started.
LirA with his DJ mechanics. You can see his head is bobbing to the music as well. This guy.
I like it. You got to get fully into it. And that is also my favorite Cho'Gath skin, because you can do that.
Yeah, it's amazing when you have 10 or 11 feast stacks and you're level 16.
It should get louder.
You take up the whole lane and just play music to
It
everyone.
should get much louder.
A late invade here, just to scout. I don't think they'd want to fight, but they're getting some harass in.
This might have been the hey, are you doing Raptors fast red? Either way, like you said, the harass is down. And they proceed to lane. Doesn't look like anybody's going to miss CS on this one. All three for both sides on those melees.
Yeah, so not a great pull because Reignover doesn't get to start Raptors, which is the most efficient route to level 4, but
Right.
still a much better pull than LirA got because LirA got no pull at all based on where Apollo and Hakuho and Nisqy started.
Seraph taking quite a bit of minion damage. Lourlo didn't stay to fight as long as he wanted, and it begins. The harassment from the Kennen in lane becomes so dominant. It's all energy use. This guy doesn't run out, and they're going to start dealing with that. So he pushed already off one wave. They're going to have to wait for that turret crash.
Yeah, I mean, Kennen's a bully in the top lane. Kennen's also a bully
Yeah.
down in the bottom lane in a lot of these situations, even though there's a little bit more range discrepancy that goes on there. And look at the scouting from Envy's jungle early. So they do the invade bottom, which gives them the early level 2 because they're first to lane. And then they also know where Reignover starts, so Nisqy goes in wards the blue buff. So this tells Seraph that the Gragas could be on the way. He's got to be very careful not to push up too much. You will see him right after the blast go and has to run now.
Gate out, slow down. He can get the E to Reignover to stop it. Actually doesn't go, goes for the flash, then the E. It's going to be enough damage from Lourlo. The last hit comes in for first blood. Persistence pays off.
Yeah, and Envy had all the wards in the world. The only thing that could have been warded better is if Seraph would have warded the blast cone instead of the brush, which I do see somewhat commonly. But if he doesn't flash the boomerang blade from Lourlo's mini Gnar, then the slow is going to allow them to chain flashes. He either has to flash the boomerang blade or he has to flash Reignover's body slam. He does neither because getting tipped off, he starts running immediately, goes for the acceleration gate. He's slowed now, so as soon as Reignover starts his body slam, you'd want to go flash.
Yeah.
But Reignover was essentially in body slam range regardless, and maybe Seraph thought he would follow him with the flash anyway, so not a good start for Seraph, especially considering all the scouting they had given him with wards to still give up first blood.
TP up for Lourlo. They can push Seraph out of lane again. This is going to get tough. But he starts to go hard. Knows with those amount of abilities between level 1 and 3, you still have an upper hand. And you can try to use that in lane to get an advantage. Lourlo's going to back. We'll see what he comes back to lane with. Quick play from LirA, making sure bot, or I should say that top side is clear, as bot is going at it once again.
Yeah, so bottom lane is going very well for Envy. Hakuho and Apollo clearly have this 2v2 advantage, even though the Thunderlords is there. And here is a gank from Cho'Gath trying to help, but they know Lourlo burned flash. They were hoping he was going to burn lead as well there, so LirA would be able to guarantee his rupture. It's very unlikely that Lourlo will use it in a laning pattern. He can just hop away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, LirA pretty much had to go right away, but after the delay, that gank wasn't going to get much.
Quick push to the turret here. Make sure they may draw pressure, or at least give Seraph a little breathing room. Hakuho trying to play quick and up towards the turret. Slowly feeding in those thundering shurikens. 40 to 29 as we keep an eye on that bot lane. As pressure continues to go topside. Seraph's one death.
Yeah, and other than that, LirA would just want to keep farming up. Cho'Gath does want to hit level 6 as quickly as possible. Gets so much max health from that ultimate, but the main reason he's entered the meta isn't because of his ultimate, it's because of his Vorpal Spikes change, where it's now an auto attack reset and also slows the opponent and does max health damage.
And also slows the opponent. Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, because what we see Cho'Gath doing is they'll get a Righteous Glory as soon as possible, zoom up next to the guy, slow him with that, keep the slows on with E, makes the rupture easier, and then you still have the Gargoyle Stoneplate Feast combination, which can give you an upwards of 1,000 damage, true damage ultimate, which was true before, it's just you didn't have a bridge to get there. Now you do.
Also being able to combo things like that now with Kalista, objectives are yours. Yeah. You're not going to be missing much. About 2,000 damage of objective.
Yeah, and we're going to see, as teams continue to prioritize Cho'Gath, the situations in which he is and is not effective. It's still not going to be that effective if you don't have any setup for the Rupture. But Kalista Kennen does have setup for the Rupture, so I think it's quite a nice team comp. Yeah,
very nice pile on this team can create. Top lane seems to be the focus here for Liquid as they see the pressure bot lane overcoming Piglet and Matt. Haven't done too much damage to the turret yet. Just continue to trade back and forth. Looks like Reignover backs off. Looking for kills, looking to get that flash down still for Seraph as they work around the table on what's left. Good wards placed in by Reignover though. They'll be able to keep vision of LirA anytime on that top side, or kind of vice versa, know that he's on the bot side if he's not there.
Yep, still good wards in the jungle. Lourlo want to keep that pressure up. Got to credit Nisqy actually for saving Seraph there. Seraph would have probably lost his turret if Nisqy didn't roam top as Taliyah to threaten them off. LirA is level 6.
Who's he going to take a bite out of this time?
Turret dives are rather ambitious. If Apollo could hit level 6, then they would dive. But before that, it's going to be very risky. They know Lourlo's teleport is down, and if Pyrian could join, it would be a very strong gank. He's looking for it now. If they go now, especially if Reignover shows, this would be a kill bot, but they'd also be exposing Seraph. Here comes the action.
Nisqy 7. Hakuho and Apollo are just about 90% from hitting that 6. Piglet very low. Matt on the front line almost got a kill onto Hakuho. That would have been the second one, but they do go back and forth. Seraph going to be going down here, cannot find a kill for himself. As the chomp comes down, that's going to be going on to Piglet. Envy comes up with a few kills, but 2 for 2 overall.
Yeah, so Hakuho falls to the turret. Seraph dies up top lane. And that's one of those situations where Seraph probably needs to play more back, as was the case early on in the game as well. He knows he's getting camped. He knows everyone on his team is committing to a dive bottom lane. It's not his turn to be pushed up. It's his turn to defend the turret. It's still a pretty good dive.
Continuous rinse and repeat on his flash being down. It kind of just ticks up during that death timer. He gets to walk back to lane now, farming at second turret. It's all right, but let's see this back and forth fight all the way across the map.
Yeah, so the wall doesn't quite cut off Piglet. He'll be able to flash out anyway. And then Hakuho just takes a bit too much turret damage, and Matt finishes him off with an ignite. But then convenient that LirA is able to feast a champion for his first stack. That'll help him go beyond 6 stacks. But then on the other side, you can see Seraph trying to shove in his lane. May have even been solo killed by Lourlo if Reignover wasn't here.
Yeah.
Reignover actually expends his flash. Probably didn't have the exact timer on Seraph's flash. I think that was quite unnecessary to flash on Gragas, but they're just trying to make sure that Lourlo stays alive.
Back to lane, 83 to 53 in this lane. It's usually you say it's okay for Tristana to be down a few CS. The passive makes you miss a few, but that starts to become troublesome when the power trough of Tristana continues kind of past the mid game because you don't have your items yet. Piglet's going to need a lot of protection past this point.
Having a lot of trouble in that lane, and it's not going to get much better, considering now they have the Fate's Call and Kennen ultimate combo. So they built up the advantage before they even had the best synergy of the 2 champions. Quite worrisome for Piglet and Matt.
Long swords. Everything pointing to the right for Seraph. 2 Dorans, 3 long swords, and a vision ward. Hopefully keeping him alive for the next engagements. And still damage from Piglet if he can get all the bursts on that explosive shot. You see how much damage it does to Apollo.
This is big though. You can see Reignover showing in the control ward. But LirA has made it.
Who's got the better bait?
Oh, they're pushing up too. This could be bad.
Bait? Oh, hits him right out of the rocket jump. Slicing Maelstrom, silence, chomped right up, and the damage from Hakuho to finish him off. Piglet didn't even get a chance to really hit the ground there.
So that got a lot worse for Team Liquid when Reignover didn't see the control ward in the brush. So he didn't know he was spotted, which made Piglet and Matt fairly confident to push up the lane. just a good path and good wards down bottom by Envy.
Well, Seraph's got to be feeling pretty good about this if the rest of the map is kind of picking up the slack he wasn't able to do since his focus in the top lane.
He should have seen the ward with his Q, I believe. But either way, Piglet then pushes up and then also times his rocket jump poorly, so it gets interrupted by the Fate's Call.
Oh.
Seraph wants out.
He's
because
out.
There's 3 people. Can he make it out? Hey!
Good to go.
Great for Envy.
He is absorbing quite a bit of pressure. 2 deaths, but I think they're starting to get a little return on investment on the aggression towards Seraph here.
I always wonder the term to use when a top laner is getting ganked a lot, because to me, I feel like if you're not dying, you're absorbing the pressure.
Right.
But at a certain point, if you are dying, that one he absorbed for sure because of the teleport. Previously, he was crumbling under the pressure. Here we go. Slowing him with that E.
Nice dodge. A few more hits, bustered back. And they are out of that one. Riptail grabbed up by TL. Well, I know there's been some fantastic nomenclature that our community has created for those situations. I don't know if any of you are ready for cast though.
Maybe not.
Whoop, there's a shockwave on Nisqy. Actually, only half healthing him there would definitely require a lot more. Let's see what Goldenglue's sitting on. 1,200, so a lot of power actually in his pocket, but ready to be spent. And Nisqy may be able to hold this off. Boom. Not from Shelly, though.
Oh, he should let it kill the turret, in my opinion. Because then no local gold would have been given over to Team Liquid. But at the same time, you're denying the gold right now, and you get to keep your turret a little longer.
He feels like he saved the day.
God!
Whoa. I feel like Goldenglue kind of knew, but he's like, can I tempt this situation? And he did. Quite a bit of damage with the shove over the Unraveled Earth. And things start to slow down a little bit with that. LirA's going to head back to the jungle to pick up a few camps. And they don't really need to pressure too much right now. It's going to be Liquid maybe looking to go for that mid turret, and Envy can react on that. There are the pings.
Yeah, I mean, LirA and Nisqy could be making it down for another dive on this bottom side. Reignover's been completely committed to helping Lourlo get ahead, which is a little counterintuitive when you think their team composition is built around allowing Piglet to hypercarry.
Yeah.
Obviously don't want to be too telegraphed with your ganks, though.
Very nice vision ward put in by Envy. Eve on that red side for TL. Actually gets walked right by. They see the entirety of Reignover coming in. I believe Goldenglue might bounce
Lourlo
right
wants the
over.
turret. See? That local gold, man.
Hero play.
Could have prevented it. Now Lourlo's more fed.
We're going to call back to that when this game swings.
Yeah. When he completes an item that he wouldn't have been able to complete. Nah, it's fairly inconsequential in the grand scheme of the game.
Seems like they're pretty excited about what's happening here down towards the red side. I think Envy's just really liking their vision. And TL doesn't know it's all there, so they want to try to play around that advantage for now. Apollo's alone as Hakuho starts to rotate around, but there's still 40 CS lead in that lane, and that kind of gives Hakuho that advantage to be roaming, placing a lot more of these wards, and slowing down any comeback here that Team Liquid could try. Can't really reach the turret, though. Piglet's clear is a little too hard. They're going to have to bring more down.
Yeah, I mean, I think Team Liquid's okay stalling out a little bit to late game and allowing Lourlo to try and get the side lane advantages. But they are fairly vulnerable to Taliyah plays at this point. And Cho'Gath does have pretty good scaling into the mid late game.
So much poke from Apollo and Hakuho. Piglet having a hard time farming. You see just why. Seraph able to steal the blue. A little bit of loss of map control here by Liquid.
Yeah.
Reaction is a little slow.
Very strange to lose your blue buff to a solo invade when you've camped the top laner and taken his turret.
Basically all game long. 15 minutes in though, is this the bottom turret dropping? Liquid's looking, Envy is looking to start opening up the map. They've been able to push their wards forward, and usually you see that with the turrets down. So they're kind of working from behind here in what they want to do. This is the only thing really slowing them down at this point is the turrets.
Yeah, Apollo's going to be able to go back. He's got 2,200 gold now. That'll be at least a Blade of the Ruined King and since he is up against a double frontline in Gnar and Gragas, probably a Hurricane next, so he gets those bolts onto multiple people.
Few buys. Hakuho just going for more sight, some cooldowns, make some more plays for himself. Continue these stuns for the team. Out of laning phase here, Hakuho, Apollo might try to make some plays around the map. It's also just plays around the team in general, seeing that they're bringing in these meta champs like this Cho'Gath. For a 4th place team, I should say tied for 4th, that's exactly what they're going to have to do towards the end of the split here. Losing bot side. Looks like Apollo's going to be able to stop this one. Such a scatter in these skirmishes. Nobody's really going down, but it doesn't seem like there's any one goal for each thing that's happening. They're just trying to adapt to the situation as it goes. Adaptation here is flashes forward from Team Liquid, and still no real catch on Nisqy. Everybody fizzles that one out.
Yeah, the explosive cast knocks him into the wall instead of backwards that he was hoping for. He actually gets out of there with almost all of his health, so he doesn't even have to go back to base. Nice turret pickup in the meanwhile, though, by Piglet in the bottom side. Just both these teams playing a very extended laning phase.
Now they're starting to fall. Let's get these fights in here.
Yeah.
Not very many kills for the amount of fights we've seen. Flash is blown here in safe play, like you said, for that extended laning phase. And now we'll see what happens when they start to gather mid, looking for TL's mid turret. Looks like Envy's already starting to take control of that jungle. Yeah,
take control of jungle, go for Drake. You have Kalista and Cho'Gath. In an ideal world, you Kalista rend it below 1,000 and then allow Cho'Gath to feast it, because Cho'Gath can only get a bonus stack off of a minion or monster 6 times, but his Drake and Champion feasts are unlimited. So the more he gets the Drakes and the Champion kills early, the higher his stack can be at the end. So currently, LirA's at 4 stacks, but only 2 of them have been on minions or monsters. So he's still got 4 of those left, meaning it's very easy for him to get to 8 this game, even if he never killed another Champion or objective or feast.
Be a very big boy. You see him already stacking health as well. Kindle Gem, 2 more rubies. Just wants to be even bigger. Goldenglue having a decent lane and farm, was able to stave off a bit of pressure. Nisqy did find an assist around the map. It's just been the rotation game now at 3-3. 2 items finished for these mid laners. TL actually looking to put something on the board here, giving pressure for Piglet as he goes towards the bot side. Seems like they're just warding each other's side, but not being able to use the wards they're placing due to the safety of their play.
Yeah, very deep wards trying to play around this Trist. Envy would have to pull the trigger eventually. Like, yes, they're scaling up with Cho'Gath, and they're hoping that split push lethality Jayce can start doing some work later, but you really have to worry about a late game Tristana with an Orianna Lulu if they don't make any big plays.
On Baron, bot controls still, even though this dragon just went down, I think the teams are looking to, like I said before, work the vision they already placed, say, hey, we can start pushing TLL up here, maybe get the fight that gets us the win. They want to go through brute force. They're not saying we want this mid turret off just minions. Envy is not really respecting the jungle pressure here of a Team Liquid, and they continue to pressure that red side.
I do have to credit LirA as well for
map pressure, rather.
Yeah, map pressure. And I do have to credit LirA just for his discipline with his feast, actually. I know that I am a Cho'Gath who is victim of this, and I just want to feast as much as possible because I want to get huge fast, so I'll just like walk in the lane and feast a cannon or something just because you want to stack up really quickly. But LirA's gotten something done with almost every single one of his feasts. His first feast was a champion kill. He feasted a Drake, and then his feast was off cooldown for about 15 seconds, and they immediately orchestrate an invade where, even though, yes, it's just one of the 6 minions or monsters he can feast when he goes for the red buff, but he stole the red buff with it, and it was just contested red that Reignover would have been able to smite away otherwise. So LirA getting a lot of value out of his feast so far.
Those advantages he's always looking for. Whether they be falling into his lap or not, he's been in the position to get them. See this happen a lot mechanically with his play.
As I say that, he walks into mid and feasts a random minion.
Grab one. We were about to put him right on the top of the pedestal there.
It's gotten... So at least he hit level 11, and he's got a lot of CDR now, so it's only a 58-second cooldown. And there's no objectives that are to come. So Not bad.
So looking at what happened in Champion Select today, I was stressing, you say this about it, I actually like the situation you put it in. He said, looking at TL's composition, what they kind of put in Champion Select, have they gotten out of it what they were looking for?
I would say kind of, because they do not want their Tristana to be behind. If their Tristana is ahead, they can actually control the game right now. And their Gnar, who they ganked for, isn't generating any pressure against the Jayce. So the win conditions of their team composition would be a split pushing Gnar while your Trist wins. So you want kind of 2 winning lanes. They have 1, and then they're a danger. Actually, they don't have any, because Gnar won the lane but is not pushing Jayce around. And now Envy's going to go for a play.
Pulling out the ults, causes the flashes shock blast onto Piglet. That's exactly what they don't want. A great hit from Seraph turns the fight around. And that was the flash we saw from Goldenglue getting out of that situation. So it'll be a lot faster for Fate's call to come up every time if the flashes are going to be blown like that.
Yeah, and they really got very little out of that engage. You would wonder if they would start looking towards Baron to force a play there, but they're running dangerously close to Trist turning on. Even though a lot of times Tristana, you really think comes in with the second Zeal item after Infinity Edge, when you have the Lulu and the Orianna supporting you, I would argue that it's faster. So as soon as Piglet gets Infinity Edge, Team Liquid might start winning fights.
And you can see how much they're prioritizing that. Almost up towards the river, he gets a few more members of the team. And that's always the good rule of thumb. Don't cross that alone. So he starts to back up here, knowing Hakuho and the rest are close. But where's the next wave? Does he share mid? They clear it fast, so there can't be any pressure. And he looks to just clear whatever camps could be possible.
Yeah, LirA completes Warmogs, already has 4,000 health.
Oh boy.
That's a little bit of health.
I'd agree.
For a 22-minute Cho'Gath. The nice thing about Warmogs as well is it gives so much out of combat healing. It's 1,000 health every 5 seconds if he hasn't taken damage within 6 seconds. So you better kill him or he's coming back with a lot of health.
He's going to bite you in the butt for real this time. Lourlo, he's slowly walking around. I don't think he likes the situation. He's being very timid at the moment. He's going to find Seraph quite a bit of damage to start things off. That Dust Blade just absolutely knocking his health bar down.
Yeah, but we're trying to get armor. If he's able to build up armor, then the Valid Jayce won't do much.
Bring the party to the teleport. No chance for him to go down the minion wave. Nicely getting pushed up here. They're going to be able to cut Team Liquid off, but what does that mean for the mid lane of Envy?
Yeah, well, Nisqy's going to try and wave clear as much as possible because Infernal Drake is up and Envy have the 5v4. So if TL over pushes, then Envy's going to fight them.
Ward right on the bot. Reignover gets hit with 1 javelin. Piglet's the focus, but he has a side shot. Flash in from Hakuho. They're actually going for the middle. Airborne on a Goldenglue. The Orianna gets taken out. No shockwave in this fight. Matt's pushed off by Hakuho. Piglet couldn't get in as Hakuho instantly flashed away from him, kind of denying any entry for Team Liquid's damage.
Even without the Gargoyle Stoneplate, LirA's Feast doing 700 true damage to Goldenglue at this point in the game. Yikes. That's a nice fight by Envy in the mid lane there.
So fast, too. I feel like if LirA were in a situation where Goldenglue, he sees that he's thinking about a shockwave, that Feast is basically going to fizzle out the ball before it can wind up and go out.
Yeah.
It's almost...
I mean,
that's tough.
Goldenglue got chain CC'd right there, so Hakuho just flashed in, stunned him with the ultimate. LirA comes in with the silence. He couldn't really cast many spells, so the Banshee's Veil also gets broken early on. We get the stun. Airborne as well from the Taliyah. Just no time to react once that Taliyah wall cut him off, and Team Liquid shouldn't have been there with Lourlo being dead.
Yep.
They were trying to scare Envy off the Drake by getting mid lane priority, but they are against a Taliyah and a Kennen. So sure, Fate's call was burned for Lourlo, but that's not enough to justify sticking around in that position where you're going to be able to get flanked.
Seems like Fate's call on cooldown. Hakuho is the Ash Arrow this game. They're going to keep throwing him in as soon as possible. 2-0-3 arrows. They get Apollo some kills. Nisqy's been holding on to the assists in mid, and LirA on his Cho'Gath play for the summer split is 2-0-1. Very big boy right now. as he starts building up that Gargoyle Stone Plate, it seems.
9 feast stacks already.
Jeez.
Although, that is with him being maxed on monsters and minions, so the rest of his stacks have to come from champion or objective kills, which would be Baron or Drake. Still, 9 at 25 minutes is very good.
Is that Shockwave, or I'm sorry, that Banshee's Veil being down. Very scary for Goldenglue. Oh, Shockwave on one person. That's going to really relieve the pressure on this turret here. The wall stops Matt from getting in, but he can still shield and give assistance from the backside. Turret goes down, and it's just a whittle down war here as Envy can stand in front of the turret no matter what.
And watch LirA's health. It's coming back pretty soon. Because of that Warmogs.
I believe it.
Just don't get poked. He doesn't care. He should have regened to full because then they could threaten Baron right away. But him basically taking the turret damage there and an Ignite from Matt for some reason is useless as the Warmogs takes him to full. And they can pressure around Baron now. Here it goes. Feast up. Kalista up. They have Ren stacks. Lourlo show bottom. At the least, they get to teleport.
Where does it go down from? Nisqy as well, hanging off on the backside so he can route around the team. He'll have Goldenglue side. Lourlo trying to come to the top, Reignover smites it away above all. And the 2 objective takers. Hakuho trying to get some kills down the side. LirA is able to get that kill down onto Reignover, but it is Liquid now closing down this fight, choking out Envy. An unbelievable smite as Reignover comes in on the Gragas. And will they be able to do this as he is down? Shockwave just missing. Apollo able to flash out of the situation. Hakuho and Apollo split. Worst decision of this game for them. And they go down 1 by 1. Hakuho making out alive. TL back in it.
Rip, just like that, Team Liquid gets control of the game. Unbelievable smite from Reignover. And yes, you can call out Envy for saying, what are you doing? You have 3,000 damage of spike that you can do. But all Reignover did is he waited for the rend and he smoked. Because he knew that Envy was trying to feast it after rend. He just guessed that was the order that Envy was trying to do. So at that point, it's either Reignover smite or LirA's feast, because it's coming after the rend and they're not going to time this perfectly. So watch this one more time as TL teleports in to go for this steal. LirA smites. So at this point, Reignover knows, all right, it's Ren smite. Ren goes off, goes to 800, smite kills it. Feast would have done 1,000, but the Ren took it too low. So that is Envy not spiking at the right amount, but it's also just great presence from Reignover to smite at that right time. And then the gold is still pretty close. He's like, how did this happen? They have Rend Cho'Gath. I should never get this.
He was instantly stunned as well, so the barrel he had slightly charging, he couldn't pop for his extra damage. That was instantly threaded as soon as he could get that smite off. Not suppressed, so the stun didn't matter. 7-6, Liquid's trying to make quick work of this Baron. They know they have to use every second of it, especially with a Tristana able to crush down these turrets demolition style, and they try to get Piglet and the rest of the team up to that position.
Oh man. Ardent Sensor completed on Lulu as well. Knight's Vow onto Reignover. They have everything they need now to protect Piglet to the best of their ability. And this smite, especially if Team Liquid wins, is all anyone's going to be talking about. So Envy lost that because they were greedy. They wanted the feast stack onto Cho'Gath because all they have to do is say 2,800 health, press all of the buttons, smite, feast, and rend. And then if everyone hits at the same time, Reignover can't trigger off a rend for a smite because Envy is the ones that know when they're going to do that. But instead they space it and try and do the feast post rend, and that's why Reignover was able to get the smite steal and regain control of the game for Team Liquid.
Well, he's got to be feeling pretty good. A bit of that extra cash from the push, a little bit extra cash from the fight gets him a Knight's Vow, which he puts onto Piglet. Even more strength. Flash forward. They can still pull him out. There's the Fate's Call to save Hakuho. Both still in the fight, and they did save the turret. That's what they're looking for. Bot's very close to going down. Lourlo's going to finish it off as he does not have to come over all the way. And now LirA cannot get in as close as he needs to for these engages. Could be a tough time now for Envy to hold off these turrets from going down.
Yeah, he has his Gargoyle Stone Plate for the Feast combo if he wants. Basically, that would mean that LirA's Feast is doing around 1,100 true damage. So if he gets a chance to flash and do that to someone, he's going to try. But there's a lot of shields on Team Liquid that can prevent that from executing.
I wonder if Liquid get themselves into a bad spot. 4 seconds on Baron. They might feel a bit stronger than they actually are here. We'll see if Envy realizes that, but they go in as soon as it wears off. Trying to get in ahead of Envy. If they thought it, TL was going to react faster.
Rib, there's no initiation ults up for Envy right now, so they're kind of victim to the Trist and the Gnar poke right now.
They're also skating on thin ice with the mana bars they're dealing with here. Envy able to go back to base. We're over 20 minutes, so you get the home guards. It's 6.7 thousand gold Baron play, and it's not stopping for Liquid as they take down another inhibitor turret 30 minutes in.
Gnar!
They were backs against the wall the entire time, and now push Envy onto their base. I don't know if they have enough time for the Nexus turrets, but they will stay for the inhibitor.
Yeah, Baron is down, but it's gonna be a 3v5 if they try and push their luck right here. They still have Piglet low on mana, but this is worth the gamble. They're gonna go for it.
They have the hits, they have Piglet, they have the Tristana, the protection, the extended laning phase, the smite from Reignover, Fates calls back up, slicing Maelstrom is in, the stunbot Hakuho tries to lock up the team, but they focus, TL adapts and they find the kill. Apollo's next, the hop out from Lourlo and the rest of the team, they get their kills, and they limp away the victor of these last 3 to 4 fights.
And Piglet is also now really fed. The CS and turret he got there is 3,300 gold he gets to shop with, and oh my goodness. Team Liquid did not have control for 24 minutes of this game, but the gold was staying pretty close, and we knew they were trying to scale for late game, and this is what they became. No initiation ults for them. Lourlo actually Mega Gnar's LirA, but then gets the shockwave when he crunches in as a ball delivery system. Lulu ults, Orianna ult after he jumps in. So just a beautiful reinitiation by Team Liquid, and it didn't look like they really had a plan or knew how they were going to get to this point, but when they did get to this point, they knew what to do with it.
It's that choose your own adventure. They went from chapter 20 or page 20 to page 70.
It's like, ah, surprise, we're here now.
This is the good story. 12 to 7 at 32 minutes in. Starting to lose a bit of their jungle. Envy backs to recoup one last time. More armor for LirA. He just tries to become a brick wall here. And Seraph is on complete damage duty. The last cannon Jayce will explode in these fights, and now Lourlo and Reignover get to find that. The bushwhack, though, from Envy as they wait.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually maybe in trouble if they...
Never mind.
Yeah, it is no longer a bushwhack. They have a giant Gragas. And we have no last whispers.
Oh man, the turret. It's only Piglet focused on it. Still getting shields, heals left and right. Not heals, but shields. Healing himself a little bit with that Warlords. They move in on the last inhibitor turret. The minion waves are almost in a perfect spot, and they'll be crashing in quite soon too with the super minions. And TL look put the finishing touches on the base.
Yeah, 3 super minion waves pushing in. Piglet with just a massive build. Emmy's a last-ditch effort.
One last time, the Fates call if they need it. Pulling Haku out, could throw him back in. Look at the focus on Piglet from LirA. He's trying to do a fight by himself on the outside of the ring, but everybody's in the middle. Battle Royale here for Liquid, and Envy is just getting thrown straight out. What a game one from Liquid to hold off on the extended laning phase. Coming in at 33 minutes. It's the best of 3, but game one goes to Liquid over Envy.
Oh man, so they go back to the roster they started the split with, and it pays off in the late game this time. They get the Baron steal from Reignover, and that was absolutely the turning point of this one, because Envy was in total control of that game. They had the Kennen Kalista creating kills in the bottom lane. They had the Cho'Gath feasting up to become a monster.
Yeah.
But then they didn't use Kalista Cho'Gath to get Baron. They didn't spike it properly. Reignover gets it. Trist gets a bunch of kills. They get a 7,000 gold Baron power play. And then at that point, they're this death ball, and Seraph has got nothing but lethality against a Randwin's Gnar, and they ran out of time. TL scaled up.
That's absolutely holding on. And TL wasn't pressuring themselves into bad moves. They weren't saying, we have to do this, we have to take this. Maybe Lourlo did go a little overboard to get mid-turret with one last hit.
He got it. That was totally
that's the game, right?
on board.
No, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the analysts to see what they make of that comeback win for Team Liquid.
Thank you very much, Rip. Disaster for Team Envy around the Baron there. Reignover coming up with a huge steal to propel Team Liquid to their first victory in this series. Before we get to those mid-game team fights and ultimately that Baron steal, let's take a look at the comps one more time, because as we're in 7-14, teams taking very different approaches to how they want to attack this meta. Again, we do see the Cho'Gath and even that Jayce that you mentioned at the top of the day coming in. this crazy Kennen support pick. But then over here, this is what meta. This is 2-pack.
Yeah, this is
7-12.
great 7-13 draft out of Team Liquid here. No, the problem is they take Gragas first pick and they give away Cho'Gath and Kalista. Even on 7-13, Kalista was arguably the highest priority AD carry
outside of Caitlyn.
Behind Caitlyn, exactly. So this was a very strange draft overall for Team Liquid that they played, a very standard comp that was great maybe a patch or two ago. Team Envy have a very cohesive draft on their side in terms of what they're trying to do. You have the Taliyah to try and snowball the topside Jayce, who should win the matchup versus Gnar. He snowballs very hard. He hopefully gets a split push going. Meanwhile, on the bot side with Kalista Kennen, you have something that kind of wins the lane on its own. You can, of course, go down there as well. So 2 side lanes with a Taliyah to pick where she wants to snowball.
Yeah, of course, that's not how the game worked out, right? We saw Seraph get destroyed in the top lane. Reignover correctly identifying that that's probably where they would try and build some of their advantages. Makes a number of visitations up there to help turn the tides and propel Lourlo to a very impressive scoreline on that Gnar.
Yeah, but the sad thing was it was like predicted by Envy at the same time. They had a lot of really deep wards onto Reignover's jungle. They saw him on the blue. They have the ward for the gank to come in, and it's
the first blood still comes through.
Yeah, it still comes through. Seraph dies. They teleport back. They try and maybe get some pressure up there, but there's still some miscoordination. They never really get any kind of control onto Lourlo, and then he eventually gets to the point where he's already starting to hit his big items as Seraph is just starting to grab his Duskblade.
But even with him going down in that 1v1 matchup in the top lane against Gnar, we still saw Envy having control of the game for a large part of it, and that brings us to that Baron steal. We're going to replay this. We're going to break this down a little bit. To me, it feels like, funnily enough, they were baited by the fact that they had multiple secure spells on their team and then therefore didn't stack them correctly, as opposed to just waiting till it was in Ren range and only using that spell.
It's a situation where you saw the smite come in at around 3,500 health. They don't think there's any way that they lose it. You didn't even see the ultimate from Cho'Gath be used trying to get that. They just left it up to Apollo.
Right.
And he rendered it at around 1,900 health, a little bit too high. It's the kind of thing where nothing's going to do more than 1,000 damage to it. So you just rend anywhere closer to 1,000.
That's the key, right? In my head, the conversation was, well, we'll both use, I'll use my Feast and you use Ren at like 2,200. That should kill the Baron, and it would in all reality. However, you could also just wait till the Baron's at 1,200 health and only rend it, because you will definitely secure it then. And as you mentioned, Smite won't do that much damage. And so again, a small misplay by Envy, which turns the entire game around.
Right, you see that gold graph instantly jump flying up into TL's favor, and then as much as we were kind of poo-pooing this draft a little bit by TL, it is a very strong standard draft with a hyperscaling Tristana. So if you give them this breathing room with an Orianna, a Gragas, a Lulu, a Tristana, a Gnar, they will start just beating Envy's comp in straight team fights. And once they get that gold lead, they basically never have to look back. They win everything after that.
Yeah, a feel-good win, rather, for Team Liquid here. You see on your screens, again, it's all about crafting that second victory so you can come away with the match win. But there will still be elements of that game that they want to shore up, right? The fact that they were in a deficit is that you don't want to rely on Reignover having to come up with the smite in order to get the victory.
This is one of those games that just feels bad for both teams largely. Envy had a good game plan. I'd say overall a decent draft. Failed to execute on it, and then even though they still had the lead, despite the early game failings, they even fail in the late game. Whereas Team Liquid, on the other hand, there's all
kind of a wonky draft.
Yeah, kind of a wonky draft. Things not really going that well for them. They did survive the early game, but still behind, and then they only seem to come back into it because of a big mistake around Baron.
But they did play the late game after the Baron steal well. Right? So again, if we're talking about the pros and cons for both teams here coming out of game one, Team Liquid will be happy that once they did manage to get that lead, it did not take them long at all to close this game out. Again, just don't find yourself in that position where you have to come up with the hero play out of Reignover and even to have the opportunity of winning the game. Of course, with that said, Reignover does pick up player of the game for being a hero.
And the big thing we said was that the early game didn't go too bad for Team Liquid. Sure, they still fell behind largely off of CS deficits, but for how bad that could have gone, if LirA was able to find some openings, if Seraph was just given room to snowball, this could have been a game that got out of hand very quickly for Team Liquid, and Reignover did a really good job stemming that potential problem.
Now, I know you're not clairvoyant, but let me ask you a question about this Team Liquid team comp. Do you think that it's more a result of this just being a team that's slow to adapt to patches and therefore is going to rely more on what they have more practice on currently than what is necessarily strong in the meta?
I would have to agree, just because like we talked about Reignover being like sometimes an unbelievably good jungler when you see him on things like the Rek'Sai and the Gragas and the Olaf, but then he has struggled very heavily to get involved on other champions, and it's a situation right now where do we expect him to play Cho'Gath necessarily or Zac, right? Are these the kind of things that he's going to be playing a ton of? It's probably not the case. And at the same time, Piglet has been relatively stubborn in terms of playing some new champions. I mean, obviously, Kalista is one that he can play,
Right.
but it's still a situation where is he going to go back to lethality? Do you expect Goldenglue to start picking up a Jayce mid lane or things like that? They could be a little bit behind with this patch change.
All right, we'll see if Team Envy can even up the score, and we come back for Game 2 versus Team Liquid. Don't touch that browser.
Paid by Steve. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, say thank you, Steve, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Even Kane.
Not thankful.
Oh, maybe Steve is so sad. He's crying now.
Actually doesn't go, goes for the flash, then the E. It's going to be enough damage from Lourlo. The last hit comes in for first blood. He'll have Goldenglue side. Lourlo tries to come to the top, Reignover smites it away above all. And the two objective takers, but it is Liquid now closing down this fight, choking out Envy. An unbelievable smite as Reignover comes in on the Gragas. They take down another inhibitor turret 30 minutes in. Gnar, they were backs against the wall the entire time. And now, push Envy onto their base. He's trying to do a fight by himself on the outside of the ring, but everybody's in the middle. Battle Royale here for Liquid, and Envy is just getting thrown straight out.